WWE has found themselves in a very chaotic and controversial situation because, well, wrestling fans are upset, business people are confused, and quite frankly, I get both sides, but I'm not really too thrilled about it either. We're going to talk about a controversial decision that they've made, and it all comes up right here, right now on the Ango Show. Plus, we're going to take a look at a major TNA departure and a big return for AEW Double or Nothing. All right, guys, first things first, if you're not subscribed to this channel, go ahead and click subscribe. Trust me, you don't want to miss a video. I'm constantly keeping you updated with everything happening in pro wrestling. I want to kick things off with AEW Double or Nothing. And ladies and gentlemen, this one is exciting. If you're a big fan of Eddie Kingston, like me, then good thing is you might see him at Double or Nothing. Now, there has been rumors that maybe Darby Allin will return in time for Double or Nothing. There is no confirmation on that whatsoever. But when it comes to Eddie Kingston coming back for AEW Double or Nothing, Dave Meltzer basically believes that Eddie Kingston's coming back. Now, this actually makes sense due to the timeline. So normally I wouldn't agree with Meltzer here, but with his injury, everything's looking like he should be back in time for this event. And with Gabe Kidd not being part of the Anarchy in the Arena match, this makes a lot of sense for Eddie Kingston to make his return at the event, which will obviously garner a major reaction. Now, listen, I think Eddie Kingston is a stud. The way he cuts promos, the way he wrestles, this guy he's on a whole different level than most people. And I think Eddie Kingston is just one of those guys who makes professional wrestling feel real. When he cuts a promo, I believe him. And I think that is such a great thing. I think that trait is such a unique trait because wrestling, we all know of kayfabe. We know that wrestling is planned, predetermined, whatever you want to call it. But when somebody makes it feel like it's real, that's when I enjoy it the most. And I think Eddie Kingston's absence from AEW has honestly been really crappy. Like, I miss watching the guy on TV. So the fact that now more than ever, he seems to be ready for a return, I'm excited about him returning at AEW Double or Nothing. I think Anarchy in the Arena has become such a big staple for AEW throughout all these years. I may not be the most excited for this event. I may not be the most excited for the storylines they currently have, but I am a huge fan of Eddie Kingston, so I'm definitely going to watch and tune in. I want to see him back in the ring. And if this leads to some sort of brawl between him and Gabe Kidd, I think that would be really cool as well. There is history there, so it would make a lot of sense. It's going to be very interesting to see how AEW goes about this, but of course, it is something I am paying attention to. And that brings us to our next topic. Ladies and gentlemen, Ace Austin is gone from TNA. And man, this is not fun, bro. This is not fun. I'm a huge Ace Austin guy. If you guys watch my content, you know exactly how I feel about Ace Austin. For years, I've said, dude, this kid is going to be a world champion in TNA one day. And, well, it turns out that's not happening because Scott D'Amore actually revealed in a new article for Uncrowned, which is part of Yahoo Sports, he revealed that Ace Austin is no longer with TNA. They couldn't come to a new agreement. And basically, TNA on the TV show wrote him off for injury. Now, for those who don't know, he was originally supposed to be part of an 8-man tag match at Under Siege, but now that he's no longer signed with the company, last night's show was his final appearance for the company. And what makes this even worse is the fact that they had to replace him last minute now for Under Siege. Now, with that being said, I'm a huge Ace Austin fan. The reason for him leaving is because they believe that he wants to go to a bigger company, which means AEW or WWE. And I think Ace Austin is so talented. Like, this kid has I don't know where exactly I would compare him, but I think if you watch Ace Austin, you know that he is very good with the in-ring stuff, right? We saw him go on the excursion to Japan with Chris Bay, completely killed it over there. He understands promos, he understands the art of selling, he understands the ability to put on great wrestling matches. He has a natural charisma about him. I think this kid could go to AEW or WWE and like immediately make an impact. And of course, I understand the conversation, right? I'm not dumb. WWE and AEW are always going to outbid TNA. They are the larger company. It is going to be a reason why people leave TNA. And TNA is always left in a position where they have to figure it out because of these departures. I genuinely believe and I've said this before, there's just certain talents that I just really respect. I really enjoy their work. And I understand WWE and AEW are bloated, right? I understand that. The solution isn't always going to WWE or AEW. I'm not an idiot. But I really respect Ace Austin's work. I think he's a really cool dude. I would love to see him get an opportunity in either company. And believe it or not, I think he fits both companies extremely well. If you want him to be, an over melodramatic character, you can put him in WWE. And if you want him to just be a high flyer, X Division, super great wrestler, you could throw him in AEW. So the cool thing is, like, I just want to see him flourish into something huge. And I think he really could do that. So, yes, WWE and AEW are bloated. Yes, I understand 100%. But you're telling me you wouldn't want to see him in an NXT mixing it up with Javon Evans? You wouldn't want to see him in AEW mixing it up with some of those guys over there? Of course you would. So, yeah, I understand the problem. I know what the problem is. But deep down inside, Ace Austin is so talented that I think he deserves that opportunity. And that brings us to our final topic, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about it. WWE, Las Vegas, New Orleans, WrestleMania 42. This has become super controversial and super chaotic because WWE is essentially, they come to an agreement with New Orleans. They have The Rock show up on SmackDown and announce that WrestleMania 42 is coming to New Orleans. Now, it appears WWE is going to be doing Las Vegas 2 years in a row. This isn't the first time that's happened before, where they've done the same city 2 years in a row. They did it at like what, WrestleMania 5, 6, whatever it was. My point that I'm making though is WWE has now put themselves in a position, and this is where it gets really annoying. They've put themselves in a position where they come to an agreement, they announce something, people start booking hotels a year prior, and then WWE says, well, we're getting more money from Las Vegas, and that's what we're going to do. Now, we could talk about Vince McMahon's booking all day, but Vince McMahon was always very keen. When we announce something, we stick with it, and that's that. Like, Vince was always about that. Vince would have never done something like this. And I don't really care to defend Vince. Vince, in my opinion, not a great booker. But Vince McMahon would have never done that. TKO and WWE now currently, as it stands, Nick Khan, Mark Shapiro, Ari Emanuel, they don't care. They have their own plans, and that's the problem. And the thing is, now WrestleMania going to Las Vegas 2 years in a row isn't necessarily 1,000,000% confirmed, but that seems to be the exact move that's happening. WWE was obviously very, very pleased with the amount of money they made from Las Vegas that they want to do it again. Now they're going to have Money in the Bank 2026 in New Orleans and then a future WrestleMania because they pulled apart from this deal. But what's crazy is WWE apparently wants to do more WrestleManias in Las Vegas. So the idea that's kind of floating around on social media is that if Las Vegas doesn't have NCAA Final Four, Super Bowl, something of that nature, then essentially they're going to have a WrestleMania. They want to have a massive event every year, and I just don't like that idea. I'm sorry. The beautiful part about WrestleMania, especially for wrestling fans, is it's a great vacation time, right? You can plan your vacation around it, but also you bring the show to multiple other states or countries. The fact that WrestleMania isn't in London, the fact that WrestleMania isn't in Mexico, but they're going to do Las Vegas more often, I think that is going to create a fatigue. People who have gone to Vegas once, they don't need to go every year. And I'm telling you guys, from my perspective, I've been to Vegas. I went to Vegas for 5 days. I will never go longer than 3. Vegas isn't that exciting to me. So I would never go. If I went this year, I probably wouldn't go next year. It just doesn't make sense from a business perspective, in my opinion. But who knows? Maybe I'm completely wrong, and that's fine. I'm not hating on WWE for chasing the bag, but I just think it's so uncreative. Go somewhere new, go somewhere different. And I think maybe this is WWE's ploy to get other cities to bid more money, like to start spending more money on WrestleMania. I don't know. But this kind of stuff could catch up to them, and hopefully they realize that. So you guys let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Thank you all for watching. Peace.